Wayne Stein, it seems like it'll happen. Not after last year. Talk about the ability to bounce back from a very uncharacteristic season for St. Charles Catholic.
Yeah, I talk about all the time, as I took over for Coach Monica, my first 24 months were pretty much, a storybook. And then up until 4th and 1 versus Calvary, it was. And so, we didn't finish that. And then, we made the decision to move up to 4A. I thought it was important for our program to stay hungry and continue to say, hey, we hadn't done it at this level yet. And we just had such an experience gap last year. If you go back and look at our scores, we were in every single game, and we lost the games that you were accustomed, probably as a media, of seeing St. Charles Catholic win. And so fast forward a year, and we've won those games. Those games like Friday night by blocking the extra point, whatever it might be. So the experience is a learning experience for myself of how much that really matters.
This year's team, on a mission, lost one game, a jump ball game at the end, and beat some really good football teams. And it's been complimentary football. Special teams, big as always. Offense efficient, defense really good. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's the St. Charles Catholic way. There's a lot of ways, and that's one thing we learned last year too. There are a lot of ways to win at a lot of places. At St. Charles Catholic, it's about playing exceptional defense, playing complementary offense, owning the time of possession, playing excellent special teams. And we got back to that. We did a lot of soul searching after last year, which I think our program needed. Got back to coaching the details, got back to, giving coaches assignments for every little thing and making sure that we didn't miss something. And the kids believed in that as well. And as this last year's seniors walked out, and I met with the new team last November, we said that's never going to happen again. And so our kids have been to that mission. We got very process-oriented, take care of the task at hand, and then win or lose on Friday, turn the page. And I think the loss of St. James, as I've talked to you before, Ken, that helped us because I think our kids were like, let's see if coach is really process-oriented. He's process-oriented when we're winning. We just lost. Let's see how he's going to act on Monday, And so on Monday, everybody said, hey, it's business as usual. The process is the process. Let's move on to the next one, and our kids did. And I think that was a big turning point for us in our season.
You've got Skylar Edwards here today. Just talk about what he's meant to your team.
Yeah, we've had, Terrell Fenroy is probably the best back in St. Charles history. It hurts my heart because I was one of our running backs at St. Charles, But, I think besides maybe Terrell's season, he's had probably one of the finest years in St. Charles Catholic history. He's going to rush for 1,300 yards. He's caught 25 passes. He's blocked. He's been a complete back. When you look at the schedule that we've played, he's carried it 25, 30 times, and everybody knows he's carrying it, And so, at the end of the day, for him to put up those numbers, to take care of the football, to stay healthy, I think it's a year that's really for the record books for St. Charles Catholic.
Archbishop Shaw, great familiarity, obviously. I guess the biggest thing is, you're playing a marquee coach who's been there and done that, a program that's a defending state champion, and yet you beat them convincingly. You have to convince your team to take this as serious as possible?
No, I don't think so. I think it goes back to being process-oriented. I think our kids know that neither us nor Shaw, Week 10, went all in on the football game. We were going to be the number one seed no matter what happened in that game. And I know some people love district championships. We don't really care about them at St. Charles Catholic. So we just wanted to play solid football, and we did that night. And Shaw's better. I get a chance to talk to Coach Tierney all the time because I like to learn. He reminds me of Coach Monica in that regard, and talks about what they're doing at practice, and they're being physical. And you turn on the tape 5 weeks later, and he's right. They're better. They're not the same football team. They're healthier. They got the guys back in the positions that they want them to be in, and it's a much, much closer matchup than people are going to think on paper. And whoever plays the best on Friday for 48 minutes is going to be the champion. So I don't know if it's more difficult. I can tell you the positive. The positive was we had 3 films to break down. We had broke down all 9 prior to our game, So you're sitting at the office and you're wondering, am I working as much as I'm supposed to be working? Because I only had to break down 3 films. So I would treat it, I guess, as an NFL like a division opponent, But I also think that both programs are far enough along to know that we're not going to go reinvent the wheel for Friday, and neither are they. So whoever's going to play the best and execute their plan is going to walk away the D2 champion.
I think 7 state final appearances on multiple classifications the last 8 years for your program. How do you explain that?
You know, it is tough to explain, and I know sometimes it's hard for the media to understand it, you know, but it's 7 of the last 10 years we played for the state championship, 5 of the last 6, and 6 of the last 7. And I think our kids have been consistent in their work, you know, and in that 10 years, you might not be able to list 10 Division I players, and that might sound like I'm giving the coaching staff credit. I'm not. I'm giving the culture credit. I'm giving the credit of what our parents are, how they allow us to push their kids, our administration allowing us to push our kids, and the kids at St. Charles Catholic, most of them know when they hang up the pads, they're gonna hang them up for the last time. So they're really playing for their football life each and every Friday night.
Talk about Shaw a little bit. You played Hank in his first game back in Shaw. Was that 3 years ago? Just the jumps that they've made to get to last year winning a title, getting back to the Dome this year, what you've seen firsthand from having faced them.
Yeah, I mean, and not a surprise. You get an opportunity to play him way back when, and he would probably tell you in year 1 they were ahead of his plan. And then year 2, our game at Shaw went down to the wire, and we were able to get a late interception to win. And then I just thought they were excellent, you know, last year. And a lot of people acting like everybody left. You know, they lost a lot on offense, but that defense returns them 8 of 11. So it's a lot of the same faces. So, you know, I don't think either team's going to be starry-eyed walking in the Dome, but I do think Coach Tierney and his staff has done a phenomenal job from watching, and I would hope people would say that about us, from watching them week 1 to where they are now. It may be one of the best coaching jobs, but make no mistakes, they got good football players, and so do we.
You change what you do and all along the way in terms of getting a team ready to go to the Dome, the preparation that you go through?
Yeah, you know, that's one thing we didn't do. You know, we actually blessed that we slated to play Friday at 7, so our schedule doesn't have to change. We don't have to bring them in extra early or have an extra day. I did not think myself that I handled the extra day in 2023 versus Calvary. I didn't think I handled that well. I think I might have did too much. So we're able to continue to have the same process. You know, I think having been to the Superdome before, it gives you a little bit of an advantage of just knowing what it's like when you're going to walk in there, where your locker room's at. You know, you got to be prepared that, you know, the game says 7, but it might not start till 9. All of those things that, you know, we've had to deal with before, we're prepared for. And so whatever time they tell us to kick it off, I think our kids will be ready.